Join ForumIAS Academy, trusted by hundreds of toppers, including IAS Rank 1 Shruti Sharma.
Hi, my name is Krishnan. I'll be doing the Hindi news analysis for the day. These are the 5 articles that we'll be seeing today. Let us move to the first topic. So what is this topic about? This topic is about the old pension system and the new pension system. And there's a lot of contention and conflict that is going on with trade unions saying that they want the old pension system and the government being adamant that they will go on with the new pension scheme, that is the national pension scheme. So why it is in the news again? Because finance minister in the Rajya Sabha, she said that there is no provision for accumulation of NPS corpus. So she is telling even if the states go back to the old pension scheme, whatever money that was accumulated in the NPS will not go to the OPS scheme. So NPS is the new one and OPS is the old one. So if states are going to follow OPS, whatever money that was accumulated in the NPS will not be given to OPS, and whatever money that they are going to generate for the pension scheme, they'll have to generate on their own, and center will not give money to them. So this is what it is mentioned in the second point. This means NPS funds will not be deposited to the states, and states will have to come up with their own funds. So this is what the law also says, and this also serves as a deterrent for states to go back to the OPS. Instead, they'll adapt to the NPS itself. So this is what this article is about. So OPS, old pension scheme, NPS is national pension scheme. So funds for NPS will not be given by the center to states. This is what this first line means. So the same thing is said in PFRDA Act and PFRDA regulations. So center has stated it very clear that it will not be returning to the OPS, and if states want to go to OPS, it is very clear, but accumulation of corpus from NPS will not be given to states. So they have made this clear. This is also said in PFRDA Act and PFRDA regulations. Experts in Reserve Bank of India also say that OPS, old pension scheme, is no longer fiscally feasible. So we'll see what is the difference between OPS and NPS. So what RBI officials say, OPS is no longer fiscally feasible because it will increase the liability of the government, and it will also increase the fiscal deficit of the government. So what is RBI governor, ex-RBI governor Subba Rao telling? He's telling old pension scheme is regressive because it is increasing the fiscal deficit. So what they are telling, it will only increase the privilege of the government servants, but public will suffer because of fiscal deficit. So, but government servants are refusing to listen. So in many states there are strikes. Also is right only because after they retire, their future will be uncertain, right? If they are not sure about their pension system, and they are telling we need quality retired life. So these are all their problems. So what you should know about NPS is regulated by PFRDA, and it is market linked, and it is a defined contribution product. That is, there will be a defined contribution from the pensioner side. So what is OPS? Defined pension benefit scheme. This will be given by the states itself. So how it will work? Beneficiary draw 50% of their last drawn salary. So let's say if the salary is 50, last drawn salary is 50,000. After retirement, beneficiaries will get 25,000 every month. But this is not the case in NPS. The whole cost is borne by the government. In NPS, it's different. So what is the need of the hour? So government should not flatly reject workers' problems. It will only aggravate the conflict. So they should find a middle path. So what are the other things that can be done? It can combine both old and new pension scheme. And what else it can do? It can retain the employee contribution concept. So we are telling we need to combine both old and new pension scheme. So on one hand, it can retain the employee contribution concept. On the other hand, it can increase its own contribution. So this will be combination of both old and new pension scheme. So Andhra Pradesh has also done the same thing. So see this model. So contributory character of NPS, that is pensioners will contribute some amount, and the government has contributed minimum 30% basic pay. So this is a combination of both OPS and NPS. And what other things we can do for the workers? Health facilities, liberal insurance scheme, all those things the government can do. And the employees also need to be pragmatic, and they should be willing to resolve the issue rather than being at conflict with the government forever. They should also be pragmatic, and they should be willing to end the issue. So see here, so already we've seen this. What is the difference between old and new pension scheme? So old pension scheme is a lifelong income. Post retirement, you will get it until you die. So full expenditure is on the government. So under the scheme, amount equivalent to 50% of the last earned salary. So this is the old pension scheme. In new pension scheme, that is the national pension scheme, employees contribute a part of their salary and one part will be given by the government. So it is contributory. So what will happen? The funds are invested in investment schemes through pension fund managers. So this thing will happen. So after retirement, 60% of the corpus, so all throughout your life you would have contributed some money, right? 60% of it you can get it as a lump amount. This will be tax free. Remaining 40% you will get every month, on which 40% remaining 40% you will get every month as pension, but that will be taxed. So this is the difference between old pension scheme and the national pension scheme. I hope you understood the difference. So this is what this first article is about. Let us move on to the next topic. This topic talks about how different freedom fighters had different backgrounds, different ideologies, and yet all their contributions should be praised and no one should be scorned or no one should be slandered. So let us see this article. So why is this in news? Because government is celebrating 75 years of freedom, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. So the festival is going on throughout India. So the article starts about talking about Mahatma Gandhi's Rowlatt Satyagraha. So this idea came to him when he was in Chennai. He came to Chennai on the invitation of Kasturi Rangan. So Kasturi Rangan was the owner of the Hindu newspaper. So his descendants only own Hindu newspaper right now. And Ram, all those people are there. No, they are his descendants only. So he invited Gandhi to come to Chennai because he was a nationalist. So Gandhi came to Chennai, and there only idea of Rowlatt Satyagraha came to his mind. So that was Gandhi's first All India Satyagraha, right? So here they might ask you this question. So this is important. So Gandhi called Rowlatt Satyagraha that wonderful spectacle. In his autobiography, Gandhi called Rowlatt Satyagraha as that wonderful spectacle. So next he's talking about the 1857 revolt. So even though historians call this as the first war of independence, many revolts before 1857 in South India, that is the Attingal revolt, Polygar revolt, and the Vellore mutiny. So what is the Attingal revolt about? So what happened is this also called as the Anjango revolt. So this is often regarded as the first organized revolt against the British authority in Malabar, Kochi, and Travancore. So what happened? 140 East India Company soldiers were massacred by local Indians, and they laid siege to Fort Anjango. So this is Attingal revolt. And next, Polygar revolt, Palayakarar, as they are called in Tamil. It is they were the local chieftains of a place called Tirunelveli. So British officers, East India Company officers constantly kept harassing them for taxes. And what they did, they killed few British officials. Next, Vellore mutiny. So the Vellore mutiny was the first uprising by the native soldiers of the British army itself. So this was not from the enemy soldiers. So it was from the native soldiers itself. So what they did, they killed the British of officials, and they hoisted the flag of Tipu Sultan. So this is very important. So they hoisted the flag of Tipu Sultan on the Vellore fort. So and later they were executed. What is very special about this mutiny is that many soldiers from many castes and religions came together. So this is very unique about the Vellore mutiny. So the author is telling even before 1857 revolt, there are so many historical revolts. So we are seeing all those examples. Next is giving the example of moderates and extremists. So moderates, what they did, they trusted constitutional methods. This we know. Extremists preferred boycott and revolution. So what he's trying to tell is different national heroes had different ideologies, and Aurobindo had different ideology. So he was into violent methods, so on and so forth. So, but what the author is trying to tell us, like each method was only because of their love for the nation. So he's telling we cannot criticize this method is better, that method is better. So see here, this is Aurobindo, this is Bala Gangadhar Tilak. So this is a historic photo taken after the Surat split. So you see, what a historic moment this was. Two great Mahapurushas of our country in the same photo. So gives goosebump, doesn't it? And next he's talking about Bhagat Singh, Birsa Munda, Vanjanathan, who sacrificed their life. So it was instantaneously they'll go and kill someone and they'll be killed. So things like these people worked on things like that. At the same time, you see Gokhale and Ambedkar, even they went on to the extent of becoming a part of the Viceroy's Executive Council. So you know, right? Ambedkar was a labor member of Viceroy's Executive Council, and they were never imprisoned. But for that, you cannot question Ambedkar's patriotism, right? Same thing with Subhash Chandra Bose. So he raised an army and worked with Japan, which was an Axis power. So he supported the countries like Japan and Germany. So you see how different many freedom fighters, they took different routes, but yet their devotion was towards the motherland only. And there are so many other great people as well. Bikaji Kama, she went to Europe and fought for India. Shamji Krishna Varma. So these people raised revolutionaries in other countries. Champagaraman Pillai, who used other countries' ammunitions to attack British in India, and Thillayadi Valliyamai. You see, this small little girl who was just 16 years old, her name is Thillayadi Valliyamai. So, did you know that she was the inspiration for Mahatma Gandhi for freedom? Yes, she was born in South Africa and she protested against the numerous atrocities that South African British authorities committed on Indians in South Africa. So, she went on fast unto death in prison. And eventually she died in the prison. But what happened? She later inspired countless Indians to fight for freedom. And who was the main person among that? It was Mahatma Gandhi. He says his idea of freedom comes from Thillayadi Valliyamai. So see, so many people who worked and lived and died for the country, and they also inspired so many millions of people to work for the cause of the nation. So many people, but their love for the nation is same, but their methods were different. But what is happening in India right now? Leaders are being stigmatized and slandered. So they are telling this person was a British stooge, this person's patriotism is being questioned, Ambedkar is being slandered, Savarkar is being slandered. So he's telling don't do that. So here is giving the example of Savarkar. So why is giving the example of Savarkar? Because a lot of people are talking about a lot of stuffs about Savarkar, but here the author is giving the example of Indira Gandhi, and on his centenary celebrations, this is what she had to say. I wish success to the plans to celebrate the birthday of this remarkable son of India. So even though she was against his ideology, but she accepted the fact that he devoted his entire life, his money, his property, everything he devoted for the service of the nation. So he's telling, see, even though the ideologies are different, but the ultimate affection was towards the country only. Next he's telling, see, Gandhi even supported British in the Boer War. For that he got the title Kaiser-e-Hind. So, but you cannot question Gandhi's patriotism, right? But however, he later returned it in 1920 after the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. But you see what moderates did after 1999 reforms, after Jallianwala Bagh massacre, they even accepted the 1919 Montagu-Chelmsford reforms. Many were not happy with it, but moderates even accepted it. And see, in 1942, Rajaji stayed away from Quit India movement because he thought India should support British efforts in the World War. So he stayed away from the Quit India movement. But yet we cannot tell Rajaji is a traitor, he did not support India during the Quit India movement. We cannot tell. So all of them were guided by the principle Janani Janma Bhumisha Swargadapi Gariyasi, which is a sloga that comes in Ramayana. So Lakshmana tells Rama to stay in Sri Lanka itself, which is a very prosperous nation, and Rama tells Lakshmana, even if it is a prosperous nation, mother and motherland both are equal to heaven, and no other place is equal to these two places. So all of them were guided by this principle. So the author is concluding saying, stop seeing freedom fighters through these colored spectacles and concocted binaries. What is binary? 0, 1 and 1. So stop seeing them either as heroes or stop seeing them as either as villains. So both will not work. So don't slander or don't stigmatize or don't tarnish their image. This is what the author is trying to tell in this article. Let us move on to the next topic. This topic is about IPCC flagging of India's afforestation strategy. So let us see what they are talking about. So recently, you know, right, synthesis report 6, that is AR6, has been released by IPCC. So they have talked about India's climate related policies. So let's see what they are telling about India's climate policies. So first thing what they are telling is to reduce climate crisis, you first focus on not degrading the existing ecosystem. So in India, see, there is an afforestation policy. In that, what they'll do is, forest in one area will be cut and project will be given, and what they'll do, afforestation will be done in any other part of the country. This is called far field afforestation. So what this report is telling is, you focus on not degrading the existing ecosystem. That itself will help you deal with climate crisis than going to some other place and doing afforestation. So you first focus on not damaging the existing forests and other ecologically fragile regions. So they are telling do this. But why India is doing afforestation? Because see, India is committed to doing an additional carbon sink of 2.5 to 3 gigaton through additional forest and tree cover area by 2030. So by 2030, they should do 2.5 to 3 gigaton carbon emission sink. But at the same time, industry needs are also there, right? So what they are doing is, in one area they'll allow forest to be cut, and in another area they will grow equivalent amount of forest. So this afforestation strategy is codified by CAMPA. So you see what this CAMPA fund is all about. It is a compensation amount collected by user agencies. So whenever industries are going to develop their industry in forest, what they'll do, they'll give some compensatory amount. So that amount will go to CAMPA fund. So with that fund, what they'll do compensatory afforestation, protection of forests and forest related infrastructure development. All these things the forest department will do. So, but what IPCC is telling is, when forest land is diverted, when they are cut, whatever you do, you can no longer provide the historical ecosystem services or host biodiversity. So you can cut forest somewhere and you can do afforestation somewhere else. But historically, what they are doing, that ecosystem services, they'll host a range of biodiversity, all those things will be lost. So this is what IPCC is telling. So this afforestation, it is also coming from the Forest Conservation Act 1980. So in this only they are telling forest land diverted must identify land elsewhere and do afforestation. So if I am the industrialist, I want to open an industry, what I should do? I should find an equivalent amount of land where I am going to do afforestation. Then only I'll get this forest land. So this comes from Forest Conservation Act 1980. So why does CAMPA matter? Because right now they have 47,000 crores unused. So they don't even know what to do with that money. So but they have come under fire because you are getting money and you are setting forest in some other place. But for doing that, you are destroying natural ecosystems right now. So IPCC is telling you can create single species plantation in Haryana. But how can you compare that to a salt forest that will be destroyed in Madhya Pradesh? Are they both same? Are the natural ecosystem services that they'll be providing be the same? No, it is totally different, right? So the salt forest of Madhya Pradesh, what they'll do, they'll play a bigger role when it comes to biodiversity, supporting livelihoods of local population, hydrological water services, and carbon sequestration. Here, the salt forest will play a much more bigger role than the plantation species in Haryana. So they're telling don't do all these things, and they're telling plantation forest. Okay, they are doing some good things only, but it will take many decades before it reaches the level of carbon that is sequestered through natural forest. So they are comparing these two things. And next they are talking about tools to tools to combat climate crisis should not come at the cost of natural ecosystem. For this they are giving example. See, solar power, wind power and all, they have got good mitigation power. But what they are doing, see, when solar power plants are kept, it is coming in conflict with local people, because what it is doing is it is restricting the land use pattern of the local people, and the solar water plant is increasing local water consumption. So we are doing solar power plant to mitigate climate change, but at the same time it is hampering the natural ecosystem also. Same thing with wind farms in Western Ghats. What is happening? The wind farms, the wind which is rotating, right? The blades are very sharp, so it is hurting the predatory birds. So their activity has reduced, which in turn has led to an increase in the number of lizards. So these are the problems. So they are telling there are problems with afforestation that India is doing right now, and all these mitigation strategies like solar power, wind power, they are also causing certain problems. So look into all these things. So IPCC is giving a warning signal. So this is what this article is about. Now let us move on to the next topic. This topic is also about the IPCC report, but in previous topic we saw what India must do, but here it is about the overall globally what should be done. So here the authors are discussing about the global impact. So why is it in news? Because 6th AR report of IPCC has been released, and the UN Secretary General has called it as the surviving guide for humanity. So this is a huge statement, right? So he's called it as the surviving guide for humanity. So what the report has confirmed, like other reports, it is confirming that human activity has unequivocally driving global temperature. So human activity, anthropomorphic activity has indeed been rising the global temperature. So this is being confirmed by the 6th report. So next what they are telling, global temperature has reached 1.1 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. So it is actually a very sad news, right? And what they are telling, by 2100, 2.8 degrees Celsius it will grow. But what was the global target? It is 1.5. But what they are telling, so hereafter mostly we cannot focus on restraining temperature levels below 1.5 degrees Celsius. So you should be prepared to face 2 degrees Celsius. So but it has got a lot of problems, right? Because if you want to limit it to less than 1.5 degrees Celsius, you should reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 43%. But for 2 degrees Celsius, if you reduce global greenhouse gas emissions by 21%, it is enough. But for 1.5 to 2, it is a huge change in temperature, right? So a lot of disasters will take place because of that. So what they are telling, to limit less than 1.5 degrees Celsius, you need deep cuts in all sectors and on all regions. So you cannot just say no, Europeans and North Americans will not do, only Asians must do. You cannot put the blame on each other. So what they are saying, the report says humanity has already consumed 4/5 of its total carbon budgets for 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2019. So whatever carbon emissions that should be done to maintain temperature at 1.5 degrees Celsius has already, 4/5 of it has already been consumed, primarily by who? By developing countries only, like India and China. So if 4/5 is already consumed, how can we reduce temperature, keep the temperature below 1.5 degrees Celsius? It's going to be difficult, right? So what we must do, we should reduce carbon budget only, but who's going to bear it? Is it going to be the developed countries or developing countries? So climate change politics is a huge politics, right? So there is a lot of confusions over these things. So leaving this, they are going to the next side of it. The report is highlighting the necessity for early climate adaptation. So it's telling you start adapting for it. Because see, already adaptations has limits, because already some loss and damage are inevitable. You can't do anything about it. So he's telling, see, already in some coastal areas, some polar regions, they cannot adapt much. They have reached their ability to adapt. So adaptation strategies like greening urban areas and restoring wetlands, they not work in these areas because they've gone past that level. So next, what they are talking about, they are talking about something called as maladaptations. It means you are doing something which is not at all suitable for the change. So see, if you are building seawall to reduce sea level increase, but what it is doing at the same, instead of reducing sea level rise, it is only increasing the problem. So he's telling, at least if you're not doing adaptation, please don't do all these maladaptation things. So next, what they are talking about, they are talking about climate crisis will lead to food insecurity, mass migration. Already all these things are happening. How food insecurity? If monsoons fail, no food. And if islands drown, people will become environmental refugees and start migrating. So he's telling there's no longer escaping from climate risk and vulnerability. So he's telling you'll have to face it. So how can we reduce it? We can only do mitigation and adaptation. So he's telling, so they are telling what we must do: climate resilient development. So this climate resilient development is a sustainable development method that includes both adaptation and mitigation. So mitigation is you are going to reduce the impact, and adaptation is even with the change you are going to live. So that is adaptation. So report says focus more on solar energy and electric vehicle because they reduce emissions at lower cost, and the technology is also very feasible. So they're telling focus on these things. And of course it's telling only if you focus on mitigation and adaptation you can achieve sustainable development goals. Next they are telling in the process you need to address equity and social justice, because very often you see who is the victim of all these environmental problems. It is generally women, tribals and Dalits. So when you're doing all these things, you focus on social justice. And next the report says focus on air quality, because if you focus on air quality, it will improve your health also, and it is good for the climate related problems also, because most of the problems is through air pollution only. So finally what they are telling, climate resilience is only a pathway. So it is only a journey. But what is the goal? Net zero emissions at the global level. So they are telling, so climate resilient development will be the pathway. But ultimately you focus on reducing the carbon dioxide. And they are talking about progress that has various countries made so far. So what they are telling, laws, policies, carbon markets, all these things have led to considerable improvement. There have been improvements, but they are telling have more comprehensive and coherent policy to achieve short-term goals. And finally they are talking, are we doing enough? They are telling if or if countries doing enough. So they are finding that there are enough gaps in the way countries address climate risk. So they are doing something and implementation is different. So there are implementation gaps. So they're telling, see, start responding immediately. Don't delay. Don't buy time, because it will lead to standard assets and financial instability in the medium term. So they're telling you start invest in clean infrastructure. So next they're talking about funding. So they're telling for adaptation and mitigation, you need funds that are 3 to 6 times more than what we are spending right now. So this is what they're telling. So they are telling, see this report, see there is innovation and progress at one end. At the other end, there is inadequate ambition, implementation, climate finance and investment. So there are certain areas that the countries have worked on, but at the same time there is funding is not there, implementation is not being done right. So IPSCC report is telling both these things are existing right now. So we need to overcome all these things like that they are telling. Let us move to the next topic. This topic is about US pharmaceutical giant Johnson & Johnson's attempt to extend its monopoly over a drug called bedaquiline. So what is this drug bedaquiline? So it is a drug that will help fight against multi drug resistant tuberculosis. So what they are doing is, so their patent rights over this medicine is going to end by this July. So once the patent expires, what will happen? Generic drug manufacturers. So what they'll do, they know the basic components of the drug. So bedaquiline will not be from Johnson and Johnson. Other generic drug manufacturers will manufacture it. So what will happen? Because it is no longer branded, it will become cheap, and other lot of poor people can use it. So why bedaquiline becoming cheap is very important is, so right now it is priced at $400 per 6 month treatment course. So close to 35,000 it will cost over a period of 6 months. So how will poor people access it? So once the patent expires on July, others will manufacture it and the price will come down. So by heart this name because they might ask this in prelims, bedaquiline. So it is a crucial drug in the treatment of multi drug resistant TB. So for normal TB they'll use rifampicin and smaller drugs are there. But for multi drug resistant TB you need bedaquiline. So they might ask, what is evergreening? So what is evergreening? If your patent is going to get over, the patent owner will do small additions and they'll try to revive the patent. So this is called evergreening of patents. So what they are telling here, it is a strategy to extend the life of patents in order to retain revenues. So but how they do it, they'll make new claims to its application. So what they did in this bedaquiline thing is, there's something called as quinoline. So in bedaquiline there's something called as quinoline, and Johnson and Johnson said they had invented a method of derivating quinoline in its salt form. So this is what their claim was, but what the assistant controller of patent and designs told, this is neither inventive, and this invention is very obvious because even in college textbook this method is there, how to make derivative of quinoline in its salt form. This is a very simple procedure which is there in a lot of books. So she's telling this is so the assistant controller of patents and design is telling this is neither invention, this is neither inventive nor new application. So this invention is very obvious and this cannot be patented. So she's quoted section 3D of the Patent Act, which says salt forms and its derivatives of known substances are not patentable. So obviously, so this cannot be patented. So this is a very important judgment. So why is this important? Because right now only 10,000 people are benefiting from bedaquiline because it is expensive. So what will happen once it becomes available to the other generic manufacturers? It will reach close to 55,000 people who have so far not been able to use the bedaquiline. So what is the need of the hour? After July, the government needs to lower the price of it, and they are telling you scale up you make it all oral, you make it shorter for 6 months for TB. So they are telling this is what the future course of action should be. So but what has happened is Johnson and Johnson still has the patent rights for bedaquiline in countries such as South Africa and other African countries. So what will this lead to? This means Indian generic drug manufacturers cannot export this drug to African countries. So that is one problem. But right now in India, a good thing, Johnson and Johnson no longer can claim patent rights over bedaquiline. So this is a good thing, and the patent general has done a good job. So let us move on to previous year questions. So where is Pakwai Wildlife Sanctuary? It is in Arunachal Pradesh. So questions like this are becoming very common. So Catalonia in Spain, yes, Catalonia is in Spain. If you are a Barcelona fan, you'll know it. Crimea, Hungary, no, where is Crimea? Crimea is in Ukraine, or you can say it is in Russia because Russia has annexed Crimea. So this is wrong. And Mindanao, it is in Philippines only. And Oromia, see, if you're not sure, you can try to eliminate it. So one is for sure, you know. So the answer should either be 1 1 or A or C. So Crimea is not in Hungary, that you know for sure. So you keep eliminating 2, 2. So A is also gone. So the answer is 1 and 3 only. Next, with reference to Indian history, future Buddha. So if you read art and culture, this is there. Who is called the future Buddha? Who will come to save the world? It is Maitreya. So you try to by heart all these people. So who is Avalokiteshvara? Who is Lokeshwara? Who is Batmapani? What is the role of Bodhisattva? Who is the god of wisdom? Who is the god of compassion? So all these things you by heart. This they might ask in prelims. So which of the following is an artificial lake? So Kodaikanal is an artificial lake. So that's all for today. I hope you liked it. If you enjoyed our content, please like, subscribe, and share it among your friends. You can follow us on uh, YouTube, Instagram, and Telegram. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you again on another day. Thank you.